Yes, people, welcome to the Shoestring Budget Podcast, episode 2. What an opening weekend of football we've had. Absolutely insane. Some mad results, some fantastic performances. We're going to get to all of that. I'm joined as ever by Tom, Dwight, and Kieran. How you doing, boys? You all good?
Yes,
Yeah,
lads.
all's good in the hood.
Yeah,
Great to hear it. Right. So let's start off with the weekend's games. Let's start with the Arsenal Crystal Palace. Arsenal 2-0 victors in that game. I've seen a lot of tweets from Gunner fans happy with the performances from Saliba, saying he was a fantastic defender. I think he got man of the match in that game. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but that was a 2-0 finish. Did any of you guys see that?
I didn't watch it. No, I saw the highlights on Sky Sports. But to be honest, Arsenal looked good, but there's still room for improvement there, I think.
It's very interesting with Arsenal, obviously going through the documentary as well on Amazon. That's going to be very interesting to see. What are your thoughts, Keith?
I didn't really catch much. The general consensus is they started the first 15 minutes of the game on fire, and they kind of continued that going into the rest of the game, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'd say that's the general consensus that I've seen across social media and across my Arsenal fan friends. Very few of them, but yeah.
Yeah, it seems as well with looking at the stats for Arsenal. I mean, it was 56% of the stats of the possession went to Crystal Palace, which shocked me a little bit when I saw that. But at the end of the day, the results is all that counts. Did you see the game, Dwight? What did you think?
yeah, I watched it, and to be fair, like Kieran said, the first 15-20 minutes, it was all Arsenal. Like, they just, straight from kick-off, put the pressure on, shut them down, and just absolutely destroyed him. And then Palace had, it was like that for pretty much the entirety of the first half. And then majority of second half, Palace come out a different team, but they just couldn't find that finishing touch. They had the possession, they put the pressure on, they had chances, but every shot they had, it was off target. Everything was just off target for Palace. And then Saka's goal or own goal was pure luck.
Yeah, from the brief highlights I saw on Match of the Day as well, to be honest with you, Palace completely changed it around with the second half of the game. And for Arsenal to come out and they play against Palace, a pretty high intensity team, it's impressive. It shows intent, and it's exciting to see what they do next season. I think this season, sorry. I think last season there was a lot of issues, and hopefully they've been addressed. So yeah.
I remember in episode 1 we were full of praise for the work that Vieira has done at Crystal Palace. Much better football than they played under Roy Hodgson the year before. So, yeah, I'm hoping for good things for them. Moving on with some of the scores, we've got Bournemouth 2, Aston Villa 0. That shocked me. Man United played Aston Villa in pre-season, and I thought they looked like a decent team. Certainly the second half, they had much of the better chances than Man United. Not that that's saying much, but we will get onto that. But yeah, that score shocked me a bit. Tottenham 4, Southampton 1. I mean, fantastic. I'm really excited to see what Spurs do this year. Fantastic coach, fantastic team, fantastic transfer window, it's got to be said. What are your boys' thoughts on Spurs and their opening day? Are you shocked, or you think that's a good scoreline? Do you think they could have done more with Southampton? What are your thoughts?
Me personally, I was a bit shocked when they went 1-0 down. I was like, oh, here we go. Tottenham are at it again. But I suppose, once they got their first goal, that was it. They just kept smashing it in. And it's them two again, like Kane and Son, they're just unstoppable. And I feel like they're going to be the same all season. But do you actually see Conte getting anywhere with Spurs in the next couple of years?
It all depends if Spurs do Spurs things. That Spurs are Spurs. You know what I mean? They've always had good teams. For the last 5 seasons, 6 seasons, they've always had good players, but they just never seem to get over the line. I think Conte could be the changing factor in that. Obviously, Key, you're a Chelsea fan. You did have Conte at your club once upon a time. You know him better than any of us do, certainly from his time at Chelsea. What do you think he's going to bring to Tottenham, and do you think he'll be the manager to take them over the line?
I think the biggest thing with Antonio Conte is winning mentality. That's the one thing I think Spurs are missing from the team perspective. You think back to the Champions League final against Liverpool, and they just didn't know what to do. It was such a dry final, and it's because they didn't have anyone in there that's like a serial winner. Poch did a fantastic job, but he's not a serial winner. You see it, PSG is barely clutching League One. So I think Conte's biggest thing is mentality, but he likes to spend money, and Spurs aren't the type of club to spend money frequently. When they do, you know what Levy's like. So I think if they fail now, it's more of a structure thing than a squad and a management thing, because they have everything else there. They just need the investment. That's just from my personal perspective, but it'd be interesting to see if any of the boys would disagree, to be honest.
No, I think that's a fair observation. He's done it. Conte's done it at Chelsea. He's done it at Inter. I think he could be the manager to take him over that finishing line. If he can't do it, I don't know who else can, to be honest. Moving on with some of the other results. This one I liked. Newcastle got 2 goals to Nottingham Forest 0. That was an interesting result. I can see everybody wants to discuss this one. Dwight, we'll start with you. What do you think of that result?
Dean Henderson's wank.
Okay.
So I have just to watch you. Absolutely, because the thing is, taking nothing away from Castle, they played well. Like they dominated the game. They had Forest on the back foot, but Dean Henderson, from what he was saying the other week, how he believes he's there starting the other. His positioning for the 2 goals were awful. Like they were basic mistakes that shouldn't have happened.
Dwight just mentioned Castle did really well, and I think it's because of one man. They all played really good, but one man is stepping up from Castle in the next season or two, and that's Bruno Guimaraes. He was fantastic, and he has been since he left Lyon. He was almost single-handedly one of the main reasons why they stayed up last season. He changed the way that they played, so much more solid in the midfield. And his pass, that pass was like, oh my days, wow.
But can we talk about the goal, though? The goal was next level. And you talk about Bruno as well. This has been a debate, is he the better Bruno in the Premier League?
I would say, based on his performance in the last game, absolutely. You're only as good as your last game. I think he's definitely been the better Bruno since he arrived, but let's not take anything away from Fernandes because he's been fantastic.
So it's nice. There's been a lot to say about that game. I mean, not the start that Nottingham Forest wanted to get off to. You have to say, out of the 3 teams that came up, they had obviously the worst result, which leads me nicely into Fulham-Liverpool. Now, I know you're all going to want to say something about this. What a result for Fulham. Fantastic. Obviously, they had the aid of the dry pitch. That they had that sort of 12th man there. Klopp famously came out and said after the game that the pitch was too dry, which just beggars belief, really. Right, boys, free for all on this one. Try and keep it as neutral as possible. I know we all have certain feelings towards Liverpool. Talk first about Fulham's performance. What did you think? What did you make of it? Tom, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts?
I didn't actually watch the game itself. Like I said, I mostly just watched the highlights on Sky Sports YouTube afterwards. But from what I saw, it looked promising. But I suppose it's the same every time with Fulham. Every time they come up, the first couple of games, they look promising, but then they just never You never get anywhere. I mean, Mitrovic, hopefully, you know, he can rip it up this season. Just because I love seeing salty Liverpool fans. There's nothing better than a salty Liverpool fan. I know they're all salty, but there's nothing better than watching them cry.
You know, I think Tom just hit the nail on the head there. Every time Fulham have yo-yoed, Mitrovic has flopped. He's killed it in the Championship and then flopped in the Premier League. And hopefully this is a sign of things to come, because Fulham shouldn't be in the Championship. They're a good-sized club. And I hope for Mitrovic personally as well that he absolutely kills it, and you know, he can make that step up later on in his career as well. So, yeah.
All jokes aside, I think I really can't say much more than what's already been said. Mitrovic was pretty much a prime Didier Drogba. No, but it's been a great weekend overall. Yeah, United lost, but the only thing better than United winning is watching Liverpool fans cry, let's be honest. So, I really can't say much more than what's been said, really.
You know, it's funny because at the start of this little podcast series that we started all the way back on Friday, I told you boys that Southampton was going down, and they lost today. Not today, they lost. They lost on Saturday. You know, I told you boys that Brentford were going down, and they drew. To be fair, they played pretty well. I'm surprised. I think Leicester just went at the races. And I also told you that Forest were going down, and they had a rude awakening, because I think Castle absolutely played fantastic. So, you know, I don't want to. What's the word? Let's wait there. We'll wait. So, you know, I want to call it before the season's over, but if we end the season now, I'm pretty sure my predictions did reasonably well. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, yeah, it's only opening weekend. Let's not forget that. But yeah, I see where you're going with this. Let's move on then, boys. Actually, before we move on, I want to just quickly talk about that Liverpool defense. I was shocked. That's probably the worst performance I've seen from Liverpool. Certainly, definitely in a long time. Seeing how they played on the weekend before against Man City, they looked really dominant. They looked up for it. This game, it was like chalk and cheese. They looked completely flat. Trent at the back post. I've seen some Liverpool tweets saying Mitrovic had the run on him, etc., etc. But if any defender, if that was Aaron Wan-Bissaka letting that in, he would be trolled for months and months on end. So you've got to say Trent was so poor to let that in. It was ridiculous. And then obviously Mitrovic just he just walked Van Dijk around. I thought he was fantastic, and I really do hope he can have a revival in the Premier League, because it didn't quite work for him the first time round. But yeah, fantastic performances there. Moving on, we have Leeds 2-1 against Wolves. That shocked me. That really shocked me, that result. Wolves, I think, were 1-0 up at the time, and then Leeds came back with 2. Leeds was some people's favourite to go down, which is interesting. Anyone want to say anything on that particular game? Okay, moving on from that. We also have, of course, the Chelsea and Everton game. Everton losing 1-0 in that game, first home game of the season for them. I actually thought Everton looked really strong in that game. I thought they played really well, really compact, defended really well. Their attack, there was a couple of times where they really tried to get through. I thought Thiago Silva and Koulibaly, though, were solid. They looked great. Koulibaly in particular, first game in the Prem, he looked like he'd been playing in the Prem for years. He was fantastic, I thought. And it all ended in a 1-0 win to Chelsea through a penalty, definite penalty, clear-cut penalty. So yeah, boys, who wants to... Key, do you want to start with this? It's your team. Do you want to start with this?
You know, I've seen across football Twitter, you know, people aren't happy with the performance. People are complaining, you know. and yeah, rightly so. It wasn't the best of performances, and our attacks looked a little bit dry, kind of like the Fulham pitch. It's looked a little bit dry for the past few months. But we'll see what happens. It's good to see Koulibaly and Cucurella. They did really well. Thiago, there's no words. Thiago Silva is ageless. It's crazy, but you know what? A win's a win. And it doesn't matter how you win. Sometimes you have to win dirty. That's how championships are won. So win dirty, win ugly, and we'll see what happens. As long as we keep the results, I'm happy.
I say I watched the game, and yeah, Chelsea might have won, but you can't take anything away from Everton. Like they looked really strong. They looked a completely different side to what they looked like last season. But you can tell they're just missing that striker. They're just missing that one person to get them then goals. Because every chance they had, you could just tell there was no one there who was a real goal scorer to get them goals. But you can't take anything away from them. They played well. They give Chelsea a good game, and if they had a striker, they could have possibly got a result out of it or got some points.
I mean, I can't really say much because I didn't watch the game and I haven't seen any highlights. I just know that Chelsea won due to a penalty. That's actually all I know about it, so I can't really say too much on there. But from what I've heard, like Kieran said, it don't matter how you win as long as you win at the end of the day. And like Tom said, if Everton played and they had a striker, they probably could have done something. But I can't really say much more than that because I'd never watched that game or seen any highlights of it yet.
I actually did forget to mention this. Credit to Everton. I don't want to be seen that type of person, Credit to Everton because I agree with the boys. I think they did do a really good job. Tom, you made very good points. I think defensively they looked really good. And, they were lacking a little bit up front. Maybe Calvert-Lewin, when he's back, changes that. I think big losses. Yerry Mina injured. He's getting assessed for ligament damage, I think it is, in his ankle, and speedy recovery to Ben Godfrey too. He's just undergone surgery for a fractured leg, I think it was. So he's going to be out for 3 months. So that's a big loss for Frank because shoring up that defense is a big thing, and they looked good. So hopefully they can sort it and it's not too big of a hit. But yeah.
Yeah, very good. It's nice to hear as well the praise for what Frank Lampard's doing with Everton. Dwight, you said it perfectly. They looked a completely different side. Obviously, I know you didn't watch the game, but you made the point that they looked a completely different team to the team that nearly got relegated last season. So, yeah, fantastic. Moving on to yesterday's results. Leicester 2, Brentford 2. Interesting result that Leicester have been weird in the transfer market. I don't think they've made any signings. They've had quite a few people go out. Obviously lost Kasper Schmeichel, which I was very shocked at. Boys, how do you see Leicester coping this year? Do you see anything going interesting with them, or do you think it's going to be mid-table mediocrity for them again?
Me personally, I'd see them doing the same thing they do every year. I know they had that one mad year where they just came out, shocked everybody, and won the league against all odds. But that Leicester side isn't the Leicester side that we've got today. They've still got problems at the back, and especially now in goal. Now, who's got in goal? Is it Danny Ward? Is that his name? Yeah. Like, he obviously isn't the keeper Kasper Schmeichel is, so they've obviously lost a very big part of the team there. But, again, take nothing away from Brentford because they managed to pull it back. They're a good side.
Yeah, so speaking of Leicester with the goalkeeping situation, I don't know how true this is. I've heard rumblings that they're apparently looking for Vlachodimos from Benfica. So we'll see there. I know the big thing for them is finances. They've got to do a little bit of book balancing, and they're going to have to offload a big player or a couple of players that are surplus to requirements. And I feel like, as a Chelsea fan, I've got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping that big sale is Fofana. I really am. I feel like that would help them massively and help us even more. So I think they need to invest soon. I actually have them on my predictions table. I have them 13th this season. I think they're going to struggle. I do think they're going to struggle.
I just don't think they're gonna ever recreate what they did that one season. They are a mid-table side, and that's all they'll ever be now. I mean, I know they've still got like a few players in Vardy, but Vardy's getting on now. But I mean, is his name Drew Hall? Scored an absolutely outrageous goal for Leicester. I mean, what a strike, posting in as well. I mean, he's not that old either, so I think he's got the potential to be quite good. I'm not talking on the levels of, you greats, Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes. I'm not talking them, but, he could be something to look for in the future, like.
Right. Moving on to the next team, we have Manchester City and West Ham. I mean, from what I saw, I didn't watch the whole game. I just saw clips. It was pretty much the Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland show. I mean, absolutely fantastic. He got both goals. He looks top. He's a top striker, but he looks good in the Prem. There were question marks strangely after the game against Liverpool, which shocked me a little bit. I know he had a bit of a flop in that game, but I'm glad he showed his class in many ways. He's a fantastic player. And obviously West Ham, they were completely outdone. I'm looking at the stats here. Possession-wise, Man City had 75% of the possession. I mean, that's insane. Completely dominated from start to finish. West Ham had more corners, but yeah, again, ultimately it was down to the 2 goals from Erling Haaland. Yeah, Tom, what are your thoughts on that game? Did you see it? What are your thoughts on Man City this season?
Yeah, I watched the whole game, and to be honest with you, City they're just City, aren't they? West Ham looked lost. They didn't really know what to do. Every time they got the ball, they looked like they were panicking. They tried to get it up to Antonio, and he just couldn't get on it. And it was the De Bruyne and Haaland show. The pass that De Bruyne made through to Haaland for him to get his second goal was disgusting. And it's like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, these two are going to rip it up this season. I can already tell. Like, they don't look like they did in the Community Shield. It looks like a completely new side again. But it looked like it's just going to be the same this season. I feel like now they've got Haaland. I feel like they could definitely take that next step to the Champions League, maybe, because he is that striker that they've so desperately needed.
Yeah, I mean, just to pretty much elaborate from what Tom said, it's not, it's City. It is just City. It's what they do. They're not gonna, it's hard to improve a team like City when you're already that good. But I mean, is he that striker to take him to that next level? Is he that striker to push him to the final, maybe to win the Champions League? I mean, the highlight of the match for me wasn't even in the match. It was Haaland's post-match interview where he just started swearing every 2 seconds. I mean, that was from start to finish. It was just Man City's game. I mean, West Ham didn't turn up. They didn't want it. They couldn't be bothered. Man City, straight from the off, were just pressure and absolutely had him from kick-off to the end of the game, like.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really watch the game. I'm not surprised at all that De Bruyne and Haaland are already performing good, really playing with big strikers, proper strikers. Lukaku actually performs for Belgium. I don't know why he struggles in the Premier League, but still. So I'm not surprised at all, to be honest with you. And the boys are making valid points here. Tom arguing for the Champions League. Is he the final piece of the puzzle? I'm not too sure. I think they need someone who's been there and done it, and I don't mean management. I mean on the pitch. Someone who's played in that. And De Bruyne is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like someone who's been there and won it before, that hunger, that the knowing what it takes to win that is a big thing. At least me personally, but they're still going to be one of the favourites easily.
Yeah, but where do you think that problem is then? If like, you don't think he's going to be that person to take him to the next step, where do you think their actual problem is? Because, we've seen them do it in the Premier League. They destroy every single team. We've seen them doing it in the Champions League until they get to a certain stage. But, they get to that point where they just can't do it.
The thing is, they had prime Sergio Aguero, and they still couldn't see it over the line. They faltered so many times. I think it's a mentality thing more than anything. I don't necessarily think it's a specific player. I think Haaland is obviously, he's going to be carrying the next generation along with Mbappe. He's going to be inspiring people like Ronaldo and Messi inspired us growing up. Before that, Ronaldo and Ronaldinho, Zidane. But they're going to be inspiring the younger generation. But I definitely think it's a mindset thing now, because they have the ability, they have the players. It's just whether or not they get over the line now.
Just one more thing. I'm just going through social media, and speaking of, while we're on the topic of Man City and West Ham, it says here, Kurt Zouma was down injured against Man City, and City fans started to chant, "That's how you catfault." And they've been charged by the FA for that.
That's a fantastic way to end that segment, Dwight. Thank you for that little anecdote there. I like that. And fair play to the City fans, because I personally haven't got any time for Kurt Zouma for what he did to that poor little cat. Anyway, moving on. The big topic, the one that's going to cause all manner of hell. Manchester United versus Brighton. What on earth? Oh my days. I'm going to start with this one, boys. Absolutely shocking start for Ten Hag. I felt awful for the guy. He's one of the first managers that have come to United that I genuinely feel sorry for on his first game. Under Ollie, somehow opening games we sort of did really, really well. Ten Hag's football has been fantastic in pre-season. We've seen a real change, a real shift, much more possession-based. We're actually seeing a press, which was fantastic. Did we see any of that in the game against Brighton? No. We reverted to Ralph Ball again. And I don't know, I was disgusted in what I saw in that game. I mean, the big story in that, I suppose, is Fred and McTominay in that midfield. You can't compete if you've got them two as your sort of central holding midfielders. You just can't do it. We lack any sort of real depth. The transfers are absolutely, or the transfer rumours, I should say, are absolutely outrageous. At least in my opinion. We've been linked today with Rabiot. It's a double blade with double-edged sword with Rabiot. I mean, on one hand, he's a great player. He's got it in him. On the other hand, his personality is, the way he conducts himself. Is that what you want at the club? For me, it's a Pogba 2.0. I don't know if that's the right thing. Maybe with Erik Ten Hag there, we can churn that out of him and get a tune out of him. But it seems to me like a desperate signing. Not anybody that we've been linked with until today. And the other one, which is for me the most shocking of all, is Arnautovic. Yeah, on his day, great. Played for Stoke. Plays for Bologna. Went to China, I think, for a certain time as well. 32 years of age. Around 10 to 12 million For me, that is a shocking signing. I'm absolutely disgusted. And again, it just shows how desperate Manchester United are getting. And it just shows how rotten that board, that core is. The fact that when Eric Ten Hag came, it was Frankie de Jong all over the place. That hasn't materialized. That's been dragging on. Maybe not our fault with that one, but it's been dragging. And instead of looking at other targets, we've stuck with it. And now there are reports that Frankie does not want to come to United. And can I blame him? No. It's also then moved on to obviously Shesko as well, replacing Ronaldo. That now isn't happening. He's going to RB Leipzig for 23 million when we were linked with him for over 55 million. Again, annoying. Also, on top of that, you've got deals like I say, the Arnautovic deal and the Rabiot deal. I just think it's desperation FC, and I'm personally disgusted with what I'm seeing on and off the pitch. But Key, I can see you want to chime in on this particular point. Take it away.
There's nothing really to add. I just wanted to point out in the first podcast you mixed up Leipzig and Salzburg, and it turned out you ended up predicting the future here. So I'm kind of impressed with you, Jordan. I want to know the lottery numbers. I'm not going to lie to you, my brother.
As soon as we reach that 100 followers on Twitter, I will give out the winning lottery numbers. Okay, that's the prize. So make sure you follow us on socials. But I'm just going to very quickly continue with this. I'm sorry, boys. I know you're desperate to chime in. It's just I'm very passionate about this. You look at what's going on with John Murtough. And you even look at what happened before pre-season when we had a group of fans who were protesting and they met with Richard Arnold. He fair play to him. I was very proud of him at the time. I thought that's big of him to take him to a pub and talk to them. I thought that was a real nice connect between the club and the fans that we desperately needed. And everything that he said has sort of gone out the window. Whether that's his fault or not, ultimately the responsibility does lie on his and John Murtough's shoulders. I'm just, like I say, I'm disgusted from top to bottom with what's going on with that club. We've got the Ronaldo situation dragging on. We don't know where he's going to end up, if he's going to be in the United shirt in the next few weeks. We've got problems on and off the pitch. We've got rumours that Rafael Varane wants to leave, and it looks like a mass exodus of the players that we really need, and we're keeping the players that we don't. The Phil Jones, the McTominays, the Wan-Bissakas. I mean, Luke Shaw, on his day, Shawberto Carlos, I had that shirt printed. I was wearing it with pride. But I'm seeing a completely different Luke Shaw now. I'm seeing, and even last season, and to be honest with you, as an honest United fan, we've seen it for years. You know, we've had one good season out of Luke Shaw, the one season where you can say he performed, he put a shift in. Both goals originated from his side. Man United didn't score a single goal in that game. That says a lot. He didn't even score a single goal. All the goals came from Brighton players. That is not Manchester United. That is not where we should be. I'm going to be angry about this for weeks to come. I really am. But I'm going to move on because Tom, I can see, is itching to get involved in this. Tom, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts as a United fan?
I'm kind of over it now because you just got to expect it, aren't you? We go in every week thinking, oh yeah, I'll watch United. It was an easy win today, and no team is an easy win for us anymore. You know, if anything, we're an easy win for other teams. But you look at Brighton; they beat us 4-0 last season, and then I've said it to the likes of Everton and that, take nothing away from Brighton because the football they played against us was just so much better than us. You know, every little pass they played all the right passes. That's what they did, and United couldn't break them down. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't get in behind the lines, or we looked shambolic. And to be honest, I'm sick of it now. I'm going from a club that used to win everything to now a club that struggles to win at Old Trafford against Brighton.
Absolutely agree with you, man. It's difficult because it is a competitive sport. So on one hand, you've got to expect defeat, and we don't like it. We don't. No team really wants to be in a position that Man United are in, being giants reduced to what we've been reduced to. But having said that, where was that football that we saw? I remember me and you spoke a lot during pre-season about how great it was to see Man United playing this attractive football, this possession-based football. I think we had something like 60% possession against Brighton, which obviously is great, but there was nothing, there was no end product that we did have in pre-season. What has happened with that team?
I don't know, honestly. The pre-season, like I say, I watched every single pre-season game, and it just looked like a completely different squad to what I saw on the weekend against Brighton. It was like everything that Ten Hag had implemented in pre-season had just gone straight out the window. None of that football that I saw during pre-season was on that pitch at Old Trafford on the weekend. Just none of it was there at all.
I totally agree. I just don't understand how we can go from that level to the level that we showed against Brighton. I do think there's a lot of it comes down to confidence, comes down to the fact how easily they reverted to that old way of playing, that terrible way of playing. That scares me. I did say, and I think I said it in the first podcast as well, but I definitely said it during pre-season, the game against Aston Villa and against Atletico as well, and also Rayo Vallecano, the back-to-back games we played, although there were two completely different sets of players that played, the lack of creativity worried me. Bruno wasn't the same, and he wasn't the same against Brighton. He was absolutely hopeless. Probably the worst performance I've seen of Bruno, and he's one of my favourite players. There was just lack of creativity. We lack a striker. We've got Ronaldo, but he's 37. We need a young and decent striker. Šeško would have been great in many ways, but he's not a target, not a viable target. Are we really going to rely on Arnautovic to be that sort of central striker, or who are you going to move? I just don't get where we're going as a club, and I feel incredibly sorry for Ten Hag. If I was him, I'd say, look, I'm out. Dwight, again, it's your club. What do you think?
I mean, pretty much what you and Tom said, really. It's just embarrassing to watch because of the simple factors. So like Tom said, we were a team that went from we were winning the Premier League without any sort of like competition, to a team that we're struggling to scrape fourth place. Like, we're really struggling to get top four now, and it's really embarrassing. Like, I used to look forward to watching United every weekend, and now when United play, it's like I'm not even bothered if I watch them or not, because they're just so miserable. It's with the whole transfer business. Like you said, George, is Arnautovic really that man that's going to take us from sixth place in the league to top four again? Is he that man that's going to take us to that next level? No. Yeah, he's all right on his day, but is he anything special? And then you've got the whole transfer business with De Jong. The thing is, I read somewhere that Barcelona have accepted a bid for him, but with the whole Barcelona with the whole Barcelona drama, wages and contracts and stuff, he could be a free agent, therefore available to anyone. I don't know. United are just not the team that I know or enjoy anymore.
I'm not going to lie to you, boys. I know you're used to being the winning club, and you're the biggest club in the country. Of course, you're used to that. But it's only been one game. We had a good preseason. I think the issues on the pitch necessarily with the players and things personally, and I don't watch every United game, so I can't see. And I really highly rate Ten Hag. I've wax lyrical about him before, but I think the harder thing is you guys came from a winning background under Fergie, easily the greatest manager of our generation, and now you're stuck in a place where you've got to replace him. And I think Ten Hag has the ability to not necessarily replace him, but fill a large part of that void, get you guys back into winning ways, challenging for titles. But I think it's going to take time. It's United. It needs a rebuild. It's needed rebuilds for the past 10 years or so, but everything's always been half-assed, and how many pieces of dead wood has each manager inherited from the last. So I think it's going to be a process. I think realistically, the goal this season for him is to get Europa League. And, from the fans, they want Champions League football. But, I think you've got to be realistic here. You don't have the players, and Ten Hag hasn't got his style of football in the squad just quite yet. I think next season is where you guys need to start looking at Champions League football. But this season, I think as long as you get Europe, is pretty successful. For me personally, that's from the outside looking in. George, what are you going to say? Go on.
No, I agree with you to an extent. I don't think it's fair at all, and I think any United fan that blames Ten Hag, needs to seek medical attention. In my opinion, it is not his fault what's gone on. He's inherited, like you said, the dead wood from the last sets of managers. But what bothers me, it's not so much like I can take losing the opening game. We lost games under Fergie, opening games. That happens. The difficulty that I have is you respond to a defeat to Brighton by the news breaking that you're trying to sign a 32-year-old former Stoke flop. I do not understand how that's meant to galvanize that team. If you're Ronaldo or if you're Varane and you think we need to get signings in, and you hear we're going to sign, a 32-year-old from Bologna, how's that going to inspire anything? Not only that, we've done it season after season after season. We signed Cavani a couple of seasons ago, last minute. We signed Amad Diallo, who I think is going to be great, and same with Facundo Pellistri. I think they're going to be great players one day. That is not what we need at this moment. They are not the players that we need, and we paid big money for them as well. People forget how much we paid for Facundo Pellistri. But yeah, I just think, me personally, I think the core of that United team and the board is rotten, and it needs to be changed. Hashtag Glazers out. I'm a big believer in that. Keep protesting, United fans. We'll be with you. I'm all done with that rant. Has anything else got to be said by you boys? Because I am out. That's it from us anyway, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you check us out on our socials. Hashtag if you hashtag the Shoestring Budget podcast, we will make sure that we're putting all these uploads on Twitter. It is on YouTube as well, so make sure you listen to that. It's been great. Ciao. Game on!